sound. Devo Jones with the pick six, Keanu O'Neal with the hard hit, getting the ball back on offense. Watch Julio Jones keep moving the sticks. Calvin Ridley in for the score. We came back, we up 4, about to get in. Our victory stats, no coming back. We closing the door. A-T-L blackout. A-T-L blackout.
What's going on, football fans? We're back live again with another rendition of the Pound for Pound ATL. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
Hey, man. Welcome to the show today. This is your boy, Jumbo Dean, a.k.a. Jumbo Slice, a.k.a. Jimmy Obama. And you can call me any one of those you want. But please do not call me no damn New Orleans Saints fan. I don't care if they did beat us Sunday. Anyways, what's up, Big Mike? What's going on, big dog?
Hey, man. Chilling. Like I said, we took an L to our rival. It always sucks to take an L to your rival. And to be honest with you, it's a lot that I didn't like, and to be honest with you, I saw a lot more that I didn't like than I did like, right? So, but we got an hour to talk about it. And here's the thing. The Falcons let us down, but I know our Pound for Pound family won't. So I look forward to another great show this week.
Yes, sir.
It was a disappointing showing from our team. You like you said, Jim, you never want to lose to your rivals, ever. That's never a good feeling, regardless of what anybody says. I wish that the Saints could lose every game possible, but
that's right.
Obviously that didn't happen. And the thumbnail really paints a picture of who's to blame in this situation. We always like to try to find somebody to point a finger at. Our chat room is already blowing up with, I believe, who they feel like is to blame. And I have to say that I tend to agree. In the particular thumbnail, I had, Raheem Morris, Dirk Cutter, and Matt Ryan, right? As what I would consider to be the three main culprits in this junction, in this game. Raheem Morris, for obvious situations, he's the boss right now, right? You had a full bye week. You had a full extra week of planning to, against this game, going into, Saints who, let's go ahead and call it. Last year we were 1-7, they were 7-1, and we went into their house and beat them. You think Sean Payton forgot that? And if I'm not mistaken, they only scored 9 points in that game. So, do you think, Sean Payton forgot that? No. He is a petty mother trucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, he is.
With that being said, no, he didn't forget that. He goes and pulls a fast one after Drew Brees goes down and throws everybody for a loop and says he's going to start Taysom Hill as his quarterback when everybody figured it would have been Jameis Winston, right? And given the type of coach that Sean Payton is, it didn't surprise me one bit when he said that. Sean Payton is very much a smartest guy in the room kind of guy, right? He is in that same vein, that alpha dog mentality, that alpha coach. I'm gonna show you just how smart I am, right? Oh, what's that? Muhammad Ali, I'll show you just how great I am. I know y'all heard.
I'm gonna show you.
And that's the way I feel like Peyton is, right? But he did it flat out. He came out with a game plan and made our team look foolish, full on, and it was absolutely embarrassing and ridiculous. Mainly to me on the offensive side of the ball.
Oh, yes, sir.
Flat out, you give up 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, and throw no touchdowns whatsoever. You score 9 points. You run for 60 some odd yards, if that.
Which is about the average that the Saints
allow.
Yeah. About at that
and
average.
You just it was absolute. It was an absolute embarrassment. And something I said a while back, and I've said many times before, I don't mind losing. I hate to be embarrassed. I hate to not be competitive on the field. And that's what it was on Sunday. It was a completely uncompetitive, just shit show, for lack of better terms. I try not to,
yep.
try not to use words like that, but it was an absolute dumpster fire. And any momentum that Raheem Morris was gaining as far as head coaching is concerned, somebody threw a little bit of water on that fire.
Yeah.
I ain't saying it's quenched completely, but it's definitely not raging.
They threw a lot of water. They threw a lot of water. Mm-hmm. Keep going.
But that is my initial rant, as I tend to do when we start up this. I know everybody's waiting on me to unload on Dirk Cutter, and it's going to happen as this show progresses, because if you ask me who's really to blame, it is Dirk Cutter. Tank Harris is talking about Matt Ryan holds the ball way too long. Too much pride to throw the ball away. Shake my head. That's easy for me and you to say, and you know what? You might be right, Tank. But the play calling, like, it was clear, something you said, Mike, and I want you to elaborate on it. It was clear from where it goes that they came in with the idea of throwing the ball down the field.
Right. And I think I completely, that's a great observation and point that, like I said, we should elaborate on that, right? Because, I asked JR a little bit before the show. I said, I've noticed really since 2015, 2016, the deep ball is just not Matt Ryan. That's not what we drafted him third overall way back when to do. Now, at the time, true enough, his deep ball was amazing. But, the nerdy Falcon fans that we've seen the velocity on his deep ball maybe go down a little bit over the years, right? But on the flip side, he's a very, like I said, highly accurate. He's a guy that you want leading our team. And at the end of the day, Matt Ryan had a bad game, but he's still the quarterback of this team, and I'm glad he's the quarterback of this team. And you find a better guy to lead his team, right? But I also say it's a bit puzzling to me that we come off the bye. We've had an extra week to prepare for the Saints. We actually these guys watched the Saints from their couch the week before, so they had a chance to see, get a good body of work. Really, just watch these guys as the casual fan like we are, and it just seems like the forcing the ball down the field to Calvin Ridley. Maybe it's because, that's Calvin Ridley's favorite route, and they just feel like he can beat anybody over the top. And that's fine. And he may be able to beat anybody over the top. But I think that Matt Ryan consistently having to throw the ball deep to lead, that's not what puts us in the best position to win. True enough, if we hit the deep pass, like I thought he threw a beautiful deep ball to Zacchaeus the other week. But again, it's kind of 50-50. It's not, there are other quarterbacks where the deep ball is their forte. I just think that it goes back to what you're saying. So if we're going to start kind of reeling in on Dirk Cutter, why is Dirk Cutter, why does he force Matt Ryan to have to throw the deep ball? So is that something that you think Matt Ryan is telling him? Or is it on the flip side where it's like, Matt, no, we got to get the ball Calvin Ridley deep. We got to get chunk plays. We don't trust our running game enough. We just got to push the ball down the field. We know Todd Gurley is 3 yards here, 4 yards there, maybe an occasional 7-yard run. That's not what it's going to take to beat the Saints, because the Saints are such a good team defensively. So, it's just a lot to unpack, after this week.
The deal to me with Dirk Cutter in the times that I've studied him, especially this past offseason, really trying to figure out what they saw and why they decided to bring him back. Dirk Cutter is a bread and butter 4 verticals offense. And that's not Matt Ryan's game.
Right.
Matt Ryan is a West Coast style, rhythm passing, slants over the middle, throwing to particular spots, and then taking shots downfield.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for a Dirk Cutter to be successful, he needs, somebody with like a Josh Allen, as far as, can stand there off his back foot and, throw it out the damn end zone. Right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, that's the same deal. Like, okay, perfect example right now. Perfect example. Look at what is going on down in Tampa with Tom Brady. Now, they're winning games because they got a defense. They got a hell of a defense down there. But Tom Brady does not have the arm for a Bruce Arians offense. Big Ben had an arm for a Bruce Arians offense. Andrew Luck had an arm for Bruce Arians offense. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Tom Brady doesn't have that kind of arm. Look at what Tom Brady did in New England with Josh McDaniels. Okay? Quick passes, rhythm passes, timing passes.
All day long.
Okay? That's the type of offense that you need for a Matt Ryan, and especially an aging Matt Ryan. Like, y'all, people have commented on me for many a time, for a long time now, years or whatever, that I'm a Matt Ryan defender. Yes, I am. I'll fully admit it. I'm a Matt Ryan defender.
Yeah.
But in being a Matt Ryan defender, I also realize who he is as a quarterback.
Hey, and that's and you know what? Let me just add on to that point. And I think, if we talk about the Calvin Ridley, forcing the ball to Calvin Ridley, all of that kind of stuff. If you look at when Matt Ryan was at his best, I do think that having a Sanu, to kind of run those routes, behind the linebacker, a lot of those slant routes, short routes, we kind of won this, kind of went to the Super Bowl with that same kind of offense. A lot of, like, again, Devontae Freeman had a career year, a lot of, explosive run. We had an explosive running game, Tevin Coleman.
We did.
And again, we would just methodically cut you up every freaking
right.
week. That is when we're at our best. Good point. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing where, it is a thing where you have a situation where you have a coach trying to make players fit his scheme instead of adjusting to the players that they have.
Right.
Like, to me, the more successful coaches are the ones to adjust to the players that they have. That's why you have a Bill Belichick who has a defense with people that you've never heard of.
Nobody's.
Like nobody's. But he adjusts his scheme to what he has. Same thing with a Kyle Shanahan. That's why he can take somebody like a Raheem Morris or whatever, however you say that man's last name.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't nobody ever heard of. He done been kicked off 5 teams, and the dude's leading them to a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's adjusting his scheme to what, the talent that he has. If you want to point any fingers at this junction, fine. Turn around and point it at, Thomas Dimitroff. Like, why you were drafting Calvin Ridley, to begin with, that was a luxury pick at the time.
Oh,
I even said at that time, why are we picking a wide receiver, right?
No question about it, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to turn it down, but it's flat out a luxury pick.
Yes,
you have that type of person. You have Julio Jones, who is a freak of nature and can run any route. Why are we just strictly making him run like, go routes or whatever? He can beat anybody anywhere on the field.
Yes,
I don't know why you don't use him consistently as an offensive chess piece, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's got the body and the size to box anybody out, do the dirty work. But as somebody said, he's, he can't stay on the field. And right now at this junction with Dirk Cutter, if Julio Jones ain't on the field, you can just about forget scoring any points. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Exactly. It's a wrap.
So
go ahead.
I want to ask, before you get in the chat,
Yeah.
I want to ask the chat this really quick. And y'all be honest now. Now, don't y'all miss Sarkisian, and don't y'all miss old Shanahan now, don't you?
Yeah.
You see what happens? You want them out sometimes. You got to be careful what you ask for. And now that we stuck with Dirk Cutter, he making us realize we was asking for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, JR.
No, and that's like, honestly, I believe at this junction, like, you cannot make me believe, we're going to dredge up Ghost. You cannot make me believe at this junction that Dirk Cutter was approved by anybody other than Thomas Dimitroff and upper management.
Oh, no, yeah.
Because,
yeah.
I mean, even as, Dan Quinn beat this man's brains in the whole time he was a coach. Why would he want, like, the reason why he said he brought Shanahan in to begin with, because he knew how hard it was to defend an outside zone scheme. So that's what he wanted to run. Kyle Shanahan was the best at running an outside zone scheme. Made perfect sense from his perspective. Why would you then bring in a coach that you beat consistently?
I mean, beat him good.
Yeah.
You beat him good, too.
Like, only lost to him, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
The whole time you were here. So, yeah, no.
I'm pretty sure Dan Quinn, I'm pretty sure DQ was against that. I'm pretty sure he
couldn't
was,
have been
but
for it.
he accepted.
He couldn't have been for
He
it.
had it. Yeah, they made him accept it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, so at this junction,
That sucks.
you know, if Raheem Morris, if keeping Raheem Morris means you have to keep Dirk Cutter, I'll drive Raheem Morris to the airport. Because
No,
as long as
no.
Dirk Cutter is calling plays for this offense, you can forget about it. You can forget about doing much of anything.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You can forget about doing much of anything. All right.
Yes,
We
sir.
have hit our opening rants. Let's go into the first rounds of the chat room's rants. Paris Green said, absolutely disgusted with trash can Dirk. Yep.
Trash can.
Same thing
That's
for
right.
Speed Falcon for life. He says, fire Dirk Cutter.
All right.
He said, who's
he
to
goes.
blame? All on the coaching staff, especially Dirk Cutter. Anthony Wright says, well, all hope is over for the 2020 season. We didn't have much hope to begin with after you fired Dan Quinn, honestly.
Yeah, it came out. Yeah.
But I agree, Anthony. You know, at this junction, yeah, I don't expect much for the rest of the season. Codio says, I stopped watching the game after 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Dirk has to go. Yeah, I agree.
Pretty fair.
Anthony says, oh, excuse me. What's going on, Pound for Pound family? What's up, Anthony? That's all right.
What's up,
Look,
man?
we don't have to have pleasantries. It's okay, you know.
What's up?
We
man?
all can just let it air out. That's part of the
right.
healing process, sir.
Yes, indeed.
Talk about it.
Anthony Wright also added up, the O-line played poorly. The quarterback played poorly. Raheem Morris had over a week to prepare for this team to come out and play like that. I want you to, here in a minute, Jimmy, I want you to talk about the O-line, what we were talking about before we got going on the,
Oh,
you know.
yeah, no question about
Right.
it, baby.
Let's see. Speed Falcon also added, this offense is trash. I'm so done with the predictable BS that I'm waiting for the season to end so we can get a better head coach, OC, and GM. I agree with all of
There you
that,
go.
Speed.
Yes, sir.
For ones who are in the chat room, I really hope y'all check out this week's coaches show if y'all want some offensive brilliance or offensive guru-ness. I think you'll really like this next one. I don't want to spoil it, but I think y'all like it. Let's see.
That thing finna pick up some speed. That show finna pick up some speed here, JR. I believe it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Daylon says, why can't Julio stay healthy? He's getting old. I mean, old.
You
You
know.
know, this is what it is. He's getting old.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never been like the epitome of health to begin with. So, you know, it's just body's breaking down. That's all it is. Nick says,
And it's tough.
what's that?
It's tough to see. I'm sorry, just one thing. It's tough to see Julio kind of get hurt and try to play through because, you know, again, you know, we talk about how much we appreciate Julio Jones. Everybody appreciates Julio Jones. But if you really looked at him on the sideline, regardless of the record, regardless if the season was, you know, if we were undefeated or in our current situation, a guy like that, man, he was just trying to play. That game means a lot to him.
Yeah.
Yes,
Being a
sir.
Falcon
We
means
know he's
to him. And like I said, every snap that he's out there, we just got to appreciate number 11 being on our team.
because he
period.
knows he ain't, you know, he knows his time limited. He knows he's looking at the end on the horizon.
Yep.
You know, so anyway, Nick says Dirk's offense sucks. Not Ryan's fault. He holds the ball. The O-line can't hold very long. Ryan needs to wait for his receivers to get downfield, and Dirk's offense is vertical. Yeah, that's kind of the point I was making earlier with them long drops as far as him, you know, having to chuck the ball downfield. I just don't think like I saw a stat. If I wasn't afraid that everything would just crash around me, I'd try to dig it up. But I saw something about the amount of sacks that Ryan has taken, and the amount of sacks that he has taken under Dirk Cutter. I think it was something like the first time around Dirk Cutter was around, the first like 2-3 years he was around, he took almost 200 sacks. And in that same time frame, he took only 67 sacks with Shanahan and Sarkisian.
Man.
But that's the difference in a vertical offense versus a West Coast offense. The reason why they shipped Arians out of Pittsburgh, it wasn't because they wasn't scoring points. It's because he was getting Big Ben killed with all those long drops. and
Yep.
having to hold the ball. He was getting Ben killed is what the problem was. Let's see. The Anthony Wright says the game has passed OC Dirt Cutter by. It's time to move on from him. For the last 6 games, have Greg Knapp take over as the offensive coordinator. Yeah, well, you know what? I would love to see it at this junction. Maybe that would be a move that could save, Raheem Morris's job, so to speak. Speed Falcon says, I'm tired of the predictable vanilla Air Coryell offense. Yep.
That's what it is.
Terror Falcon says, Raheem Morris failed to make adjustments. Yes. Everybody in that game failed to make adjustments. As a matter of fact, Dirt Cutter has always failed to make adjustments. That has been his biggest issue. That was one of his many issues. You can go back and look at the scoreboard. More games than not, we didn't score a touchdown in the second half of the games. Like, you better go into the half with a lead. Because because Cutter's not going to make adjustments and the offense is going to start going 3 and out. Which there in turn makes the defense tired. Which there in turn, we end up giving up a whole bunch of points in the second half. It's been the formula since 2012 with Dirt Cutter.
Thank God Almighty.
If I'd have had more time, right, and thought about it sooner, better, I would have went back and even looked at his time in Tampa Bay to see how many times they gave up leads, or had their lead completely shrunk in the second half of games.
That's a good find right there.
I'm giving some creator out there some ammunition. Anyway.
Yeah, you will.
All right. Terry Falcon said, I wish I had the opportunity to drive the entire coaching staff to Hartsfield. You may may get it.
Do it, boy.
Yep. Jaden Scheffler says, play action working? Derek, nah. Let's keep doing something else. Yeah, exactly.
What's up, Jaden?
Yeah,
What's up, Jaden?
Glad to see you in here, Jaden. Let's see.
What?
Sunshine says Sunshine UFO says, happy holidays, Pound for Pound family. That's right. Happy holidays, folks. I don't know.
Y'all be safe now.
Right. I hope that all y'all got a big old turkey that y'all are gonna cook, even if you don't like turkey. I hope you're gonna.
Right.
I hope you're gonna cook it.
Deep fry it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw mine in a smoker. I'm gonna do that for the first time this year. So
you killing me with that.
We're gonna see how that turns out.
Man, you make me
sir.
I'm gonna put that joker on probably about 4 o'clock Thanksgiving morning. Let it ride till about 4 in the afternoon. Anyway, should be good. Georgia.
Hey, hold on one second. Chat. How y'all doing y'all turkey, man? Just throw them in there.
Yeah. Let us know. Let us know how you cook it.
Last second. Anyway,
yeah, no, I like it.
Jay, smoking that.
That's right. The hardest thing is keeping it lit. Once you roll it up, you got. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
All right.
GA Pyro Dog says, draft all defense and do the same with free agency. Fix this defense, you fix the team. That's possible, There's a lot of holes you're going to have to fill. But I will say this. I really am liking what I'm seeing from Charles Harris.
Talk about it.
You
on my mind? Talk about it.
Yeah. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Charles Harris. I'm also liking that Deion Jones is turning into a real good blitzing back. And I like
his own.
Now, I will say this. I wish they'd have blitzed more, done something. I mean, you had Taysom Hill in his first NFL start. Like, you should have been trying to rattle him.
That's right.
But, anywho, let's see.
Well,
what's up?
Actually, let's touch on Charles Harris a little bit, because Jimbo and I, when we did our show against the Saints, for the Saints last week, we talked about it. We said it's going to be important to see what the defensive ends do in this game with a Taysom Hill. And to be honest, it was cookie cut. A lot of spreading the ball, a lot of read option, Kamara, a lot of gadgety plays, right? And to that point, we got to give a kudos to Charles Harris, because I think, so Dante Fowler, fans are bullish on him. We paid him a lot of money. I mean, like I said, I still think he's a really good defensive end. He may not be superstar status, but good defensive end. Charles Harris is our other defensive end. So let's just hang it. Let's just get used to it.
Yeah. Charles
Harris is to be your other defensive end. Now, maybe in the draft, speed rusher, maybe in free agency, but I think that was one of our most underrated signings in the offseason that's played well, because I really think he's had his best NFL season in a Falcons uniform.
Oh, yeah, no question.
And he's another guy that, like I said, is impressive. In a game where we didn't have a lot to be impressed about, he is one guy that just consistently flashes on film and will hit you once, he gets his hands on it, too. So I like
Yeah, no doubt. We'll do this, and Be Strong just tipped us $5. He said, hard to believe we almost made the Super Bowl with Dirk as the OC in 2012. I agree, but I disagree. In 2012, he was running an offense that made sense for the times, I guess.
Right.
That was 8 years ago. Defenses has progressed. Offensive has progressed. He has not. That's the thing, is he's still trying to run an offense that everybody else has, caught up to, in a sense. Like, everybody knows what you're running by your formations, by your personnels, because they've seen you do it a million times. And not just you, they've seen everybody do it a million times across the league for the past 20 some odd years.
Yeah, it's not passed on by.
Right, that's what we mean, but when we say it's predictable. And that's the thing that I'm looking for in the next head coach, the next OC. I want an innovative coach. I want a coach who is not predictable in the formations that they use, in the personnel that they use, and in the way they scheme and call the game. That's what I'm really looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce Wayne said, should we go back to a 3-4 defense? Well, we were never truly a 3-4 defense, at least not since before Mike Smith. I can't recall.
I have to do some research.
Yeah, I would have to do
on
research on like Dan Reeves and Jim Moore and all those guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, from Mike Smith on, we've been a 4-3 defense. Now, you could say that we were a 4-3 under defense under Dan Quinn, which is a lot of 3-4 principles with 4-3 personnel. It's a hybrid defense that, as you've seen, unless you got some really stellar talent, it doesn't work as well, right?
And it was a good 3-4 look, and we can get that mixed up too, because it looked almost like a 3-4, right. But it was a hybrid. Though.
It was. It very much was a hybrid defense.
Good 3-4 look though.
Let's see. Speed Falcon says our run defense has been really great this year. We're currently 7th in run defense, and look, we held Alvin Kamara to 40-something yards. What is his name? Latavius Murray. We held him to under 50 yards. You add in the runs that Taysom Hill had, and you really only gave up a little over 100 yards. Like, in all reality, the defense didn't play all that poorly. Yes, you gave up 24 points, but you didn't give up any passing touchdowns, and the running touchdowns that you gave up were, like you said, gadget plays, right?
Right.
So, you should have been able to score more than 24 points. Like, you know what I'm saying? You should have been able to score enough points to win that game. And,
absolutely,
with the talent that you have on the offense. So that's why, for me, it's the offense that gets the majority of the blame. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Bruce clarifies. He says, I guess I should ask, should we convert to a 3-4 defense? I don't think we have the personnel for a 3-4 defense.
Yeah, that drafting that free agent to be. I mean, it'll take a while. It'll take a while.
I don't know, fellas. I don't know, fellas. I'm a little different here, y'all. Because I think it kind of goes into what I'm thinking in my head, right? Because I got to ask the question to you guys, as well. It's like, I would have thought, if we were sitting here 5 months ago, just the addition of a Marlon Davidson in the second round, I would say, 3-4, we could have Grady, we could have Marlon Davidson, and we could look for maybe Alan Bailey or Tyler Davidson, maybe move those guys outside and maybe build around that, right? But I got to ask y'all, what's going on with Marlon Davidson?
Oh, man, I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, before we get into that, we're going to dive into that here in a second. Dalen Maffitt just tipped us $20. He didn't ask no question in there. You should have asked a question in there. But I really appreciate you. That was awesome.
Appreciate you.
We appreciate that greatly.
Heck yeah.
Now, let's get into this Marlon Davidson thing. If there's one thing that I'm going to be glad of to not have DQ anymore is drafting misfits and miscasts. Like, you drafted Marlon Davidson because he played defensive end. He's not the size or the body type to play defensive end. But he had his success at defensive end, and yet you're wondering why he's having a tough time transitioning into defensive tackle. Because he played stand-up defensive end. I sat there and watched the man snaps almost every game I could go back and watch from Auburn. Marlon Davidson very rarely put his hands in the dirt. He rushed from a 2-point stance. So that big of a man rushing from a 2-point stance. It was a complete and utter mismatch in college. A lot of times those mismatches don't fly in the NFL.
Right.
Where there are professional offensive linemen on the other side.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so when you draft a guy because you see his potential. Look, I'm not going to sit here and argue whether you're right or wrong. I'm not a coach. I don't get paid to coach. But don't be surprised that when you draft a guy thinking that he can play a certain position, he comes in and at least doesn't show any production to begin with. Now you couple that with the fact that the guy who wanted him, Dan Quinn, obviously, is no longer in the building. Now, how highly does Raheem Morris view Marlon Davidson? How highly does Jeff Ulbrich view Marlon Davidson? They no longer have Dan Quinn over him saying, look, y'all need to play this guy. This is the guy I want play in this position. Now they have the luxury of sitting him on the bench.
But basically what they doing look like they're just sitting him around, wasting body.
So
and that's shocking to me though, Jimbo, because Jimbo, you said it yourself. You always say this. You always say that, the SEC is kind of like the JUCO for the NFL. With the level of talent that you see week in and week out, the level of offensive tackles that he has beaten and dominated. Let's be honest with you, this is an all SEC dominator. And if there's one conference, maybe outside of the Big Ten, when it comes to defensive linemen that are ready to come into the NFL, ready to play, that are coached like that, and let's be honest with you, there are some guys that are athletes, okay, and then there are some guys that are football players. He might not be the best athlete, but that is a football player. That guy came in as a true freshman at Auburn with all of that great defensive line that they had, playing for a legendary coach in Rodney Garner, all of that kind of stuff, and took a position pretty much 2 or 3 weeks there. So I just thought that, for a team that's this bad, what I'm saying, defensively, and don't get me wrong, we're good against the run, but that is this bad. It is frustrating to see. And I mean, I don't know, Jimbo, I got to ask you as well, because we did lots of shows on this guy. What do you think it is? Do you think it's just Dan Quinn? You think it's just the DQ holdover? Like, what you see on this guy?
I'm kind of with JR on this one. When you get a coaching change, they start to find their players where they know they I don't want nothing to do with this guy. Even if he could be somebody, this ain't the type of guy that I want. This ain't the type of style that I want to play. Now, if you brought him in thinking he was gonna be the next Grady Jarrett, whoever was in that scouting department that scouted him to be a smaller type of defensive tackle, you need to be fired. Whoever that is, because that's a good point you brought up, JO, with that 2-point stand. Most of the time, if you go, that's what you did good in college. Guess what you need to come to the NFL and do? The same thing. Don't try to stop converting people over, man.
Oh yeah, I am so
getting corners and making them safe.
Yep, I'm so tired of that
type of stuff. It's just sickening. It's sickening, man. It's stupid.
It's just like Genuine Music brought up. Why do we have Grady Jarrett playing defensive end as much as we do?
I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, look. With Grady Jarrett, I'll give to you. He's a more of a rare guy. You can do that with somebody like a Grady Jarrett, but you're not asking him to do that every snap. And I feel like part of the problem with Marlon Davidson is maybe he's not catching on to the NFL defensive tackle position as quickly as they thought he was going to.
Oh no,
You know?
he can't. He can't. You
You-
can't do that coming to the pro,
Right,
man.
you know. Even Kenji Davis over here says, I agree. I would like to see somebody said something about Quadre Olison. Like, he can't even get on the field. And we're talking about Deidre Sanat that can't get on the field.
That might be one of them pile of players that Raheem Morris just don't want to try.
I honestly
Just don't wanna-
thought maybe.
Right. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, I thought maybe to myself, I was like, all right, well, with Dan Quinn gone, maybe we'll start to see some more of Deidre Sanat and see what we finally have in it. Nope. That man cannot get on the active roster to save his life.
Deidre forgot.
What?
Apparently, we got a fan and a little girl that keeps running around saying it's time for pound for pound. I like it. Raise them up young. You know what I'm saying? I like
It is time.
That's right.
Anthony.
It is
Merry,
time.
Christmas is
That's
coming,
right.
little girl. Christmas is coming.
That's right.
Anthony Wright just brought up a point I want to get into. He said, did you hear that the Las Vegas Raiders signed Vic Beasley and then picked up Tack McKinley off of waivers? So, will both play against the Falcons on the Sunday? I don't know.
Who?
Now, it's something to
know
keep
either,
an
but-
eye on. It'd be interesting
might
to
be.
see if Beasley gets called up from the practice squad before Sunday. Now, Tack McKinley, I think he would have to go through, like COVID stuff and all that other jazz.
They might not.
I don't know.
Nope.
What's up?
Nope.
What? No, what?
They might not want him to take another physical. Go ahead.
Nope.
He might.
This is the craziest thing for me though, and we could. Hey, I'm gonna just alley, but y'all can slap.
Go ahead.
The craziest thing is 2 busted first rounders. Literally. Hey, John Gruden, you got 2 busted front tires. Good luck to you, right? But the crazier thing to me is Tack was actually signed to the active roster. Vic was signed to the practice squad.
Yeah, right.
So you're probably gonna see Tack McKinley this week with a Raiders jersey on. It's gonna happen.
That'd be
Now
hilarious.
Vic Beasley is on the practice squad. So it's just if we would have, this is just the most 2020 thing
All
ever.
right.
If you would have told me that we would be seeing Tack McKinley and Vic Beasley playing against us on another team this year with the way, the year was going, maybe Vic Beasley, because we knew Vic Beasley was out of town, but Tack, a Raider, which actually, and to be honest with you, I don't feel bad. I felt bad for Tack for about 1 or 2 days where I was like, oh man, Cincinnati, crap, he got waived. He went out back to the Bay Area, homecoming, he got waived. But then, he ended up with the Raiders, who are actually in a position in a team that's actually in a race. And I'm thinking, like, crap, this guy might actually be on a team that could make.
Hey, Mike, look here, man. This is a PR stunt, big dog. This ain't going the way we think. This is blowing smoke. John Gruden is over there selling wolf tickets, man.
Yes.
We're gonna play a little mind game, and then after this week they'll both be waived again. I don't even want to hear it. Whatever.
All I gotta say about both Tack and Vic, if they do suit up, at least we ain't got to worry about them getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
We'll be okay.
Put them in. Please play them.
Right.
Play them in the game.
Ghost Pepper says, Jim was preaching nothing but facts. Putting players in position where they don't succeed has been an ongoing problem with this coaching staff for a while now. First of all, glad to see you back in chat, Ghost Pepper. I always enjoy your comments. Second of all,
always.
100% right. If there's one thing I'll be glad of is the propensity to want to move guys to different positions. Because that, man, is driving me crazy from, Ricardo Allen to KZ to whoever. Just trying to let's draft corners. Can we just draft a safety? I mean, I know Dan Quinn didn't draft Ricardo Allen, but dang, you sure did let Ricardo Allen stop you from drafting safeties. I'll tell you that.
You can do that on offense.
Right.
That's no big deal. You can switch them around, but you cannot do that on defense. Boy, take a while.
No.
Let's see. Speed Falcon said, did you guys watch how creative Sean McVay was versus the Bucs defense?
Yes, I did.
The title should have been Fired Dirk Cutter. Yeah, no.
Yes, I did.
That's the thing is like, you have Sean McVay. Even McVay, like last year, had his, bumps and bruises or whatever with Jared Goff, and it didn't look the same, yada, yada, yada. But he has come back out, and guess what? He's been innovative. He has, gotten, figured out more about what was making his quarterback successful, as far as more about what his quarterback was comfortable with, and has designed his game plans around that, and is attacking teams in a way that, sets his team up for success. And so, yeah, I mean, I that's the kind of coach I want, right? Whether
a hometown boy, McVay wanted that Atlanta job too, and then there we go, hometown kid, man, Marist High School could have got it.
Exactly,
should have got it.
Yep. Let's see. TB3 said, Speed Falcon. He's talking Speed Falcon.
Speed Falcon.
Let's see. Bruce says, I think Tack wanted to play on the West Coast team anyway, but I thought Vic went to go pastor. Vic may end up going to pastor, and if he does, I hope him a ton of success in saving souls and things of that nature. I think that is a great calling. I hoping the best in that. Speed Falcon said,
hold on, Jared. Now, I do think it's a little bit ironic. Like I said, we are people of faith here, but Vic Beasley, for all that pastor talk, is in Sin City right now. So, we'll just see what happens. Maybe Vic Beasley,
maybe he can save some souls, huh? So anyway, Speed Falcon says he wants Joe Brady to be our coach and Rick Smith as a GM. I wouldn't mind Rick Smith as a GM. I think he did a good job when he did have control out there in Texas. Granted, he became a casualty of Bill O'Brien, so I wouldn't mind having Rick Smith as a GM. Joe Brady, I mean, I don't know if I'm ready to just hand him the keys to an organization. That's me personally. I plan on looking into Joe Brady. That is a name that keeps popping up. So I'm gonna look. I want to look into him a little bit more, and I may do a whole profile on him. But it's not like he's necessarily been blowing me away up there in Carolina. Let's see. William Amy says Dirk's got to go.
Yes, he do.
Oh, Quentin Wills. Boy, you had me there for a second, Quentin. He says Dirk Cutter is more creative than McVay. And my brain locked up. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Then it says ... Wait, it is an April Fool's. Okay, good. Right.
Okay.
Hand me messed up. Hand me messed up right there, Quentin.
Playing April Fools and no
over here. It's close to Thanksgiving, not April Fools.
Yeah, Quentin Dub. Come on now.
Okay, Dwan says Tony Dungy for GM. Now, Mike, I want you to. Can you speak on Tony Dungy? Because you brought his name up in that GM aspect more than once. What makes that stand out for y'all?
You know what, man? I'll be honest with you. And shout out to that's why I love the pound. Because literally, we were just talking about Tony Dungy as a legitimate GM choice. Because, here's the thing. Tony Dungy kind of reminds me of, it's two other guys. And to be honest with you, they're completely different coaching styles. But just his presence, well, actually, three guys. Look, he reminds me of a little bit of John Gruden, a little bit of Mike Tomlin, a little bit of an old school Pittsburgh Steelers coach and Bill Cowher, meaning they understand the formula for excellence, and they know how to really assess what the team needs, what the division needs, what the next 5 years of the division is, and what we need to do to make sure we close that gap. And I think if you look at it, right, let's look at John Gruden. We took old Chucky for a joke there for like 3-4 years. He's all in the booth. He's John Gruden. You got Gruden's grinders. You got Gruden's quarterback camp. And you're just thinking like John Gruden as kind of, hey, man, he's probably more concerned about, hanging out on the beach in the offseason and just taking life a little bit slow. But once you saw Chucky put back that hat and you saw him get back in the building every day and coach football players, he has a Las Vegas Raiders team that is ready to go. Okay, you hear me? This is a team that we are nervous about. There have been years where it's like, oh, we got the Raiders coming in, easy win, we look over it. But you got to take the Raiders serious because look at it. And to be honest with you, Gruden is the guy like the other ones. And I believe to be great in this league is you got to get the most out of the guys that you got on the team, right? I mean, look at the Steelers, for example. Outside of Minka Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, Dupree, they still do have a lot of guys there on an undefeated team. A lot of good guys who know how to, just functional guys. Hayward. These are guys that know the system, know the scheme, know what's expected of them, come from a winning culture. And I think winning culture starts at the top, because you ask yourself, when Thomas Dimitroff walks in the building, what does he ooze? Not excellence. It's like,
he definitely ain't never played a down in his life. Maybe Pop Warner. He probably played Pop Warner about 2 days, and then he left.
Exactly. And you know what? That's a problem, because Arthur Blank, and you think even worse than Dimitroff is Arthur Blank. Arthur Blank has never played football a day in his life. Arthur Blank just got the money, and Arthur Blank is the CEO of CEOs. He just wants status reports. He just wants Dimitroff and McKay telling them, hey, okay, well, we can do this, we'll do that, and trust me, Arthur, right? And Arthur said, you have my trust, So, like I said, I just think a Tony Dungy gives that. He can talk up to Arthur, and he can talk down to the players and create kind of that unilateral presence that's so needed. But go ahead, Jimbo.
And then I'm gonna get this real quick before you get back in the chat, JR. Tony Dungy took over the Bucks. Terrible. Super Bowl, right? Well, not Super Bowl, but
right.
Your guy Gruden again won with that roster that he built. Okay, takes over the coach. Terrible. Goes to the Super Bowl, right? So look at the position that we in, Power ATL. We are. Let's be honest now. We are a dumpster fire, like JR said.
Right.
He can take over and start us over, and that's what I see at Tony Dungy taking over. It started over with a trash dumpster fire type team, and I'm sorry I got to say that about my team, but it just is what it is right about that.
What it is.
Well, look, I'll put it to you like this. As far as the GM goes, for 13 plus years now, we have had what I consider to be a business GM, right? Good with business maneuvers. Yeah, he never really did put us in cap hell. Extended the guys we needed extended. Made some decent decisions in free agency, made some bad decisions in free agency. I could tell you what he wasn't. He wasn't a talent guy. He was not a talent evaluator. Like, he relied on his scouting staff to tell him what he needed to know, and made decisions based that way. I wouldn't mind one bit having a former player, former coach, somebody who understands the game better. Like a Louis Riddick, like a Tony Dungy, like y'all, y'all convinced me in that aspect. Like a Tony Dungy, give me somebody who truly understands the game, on all levels, and that I would like to see what that produce, because you see, you can get money guys, right? You can hire accountants, and you can hire guys to make the business side work. Just like Dimitroff had guys who made the talent side work, a la Scott Pioli, a la some of them other GMs that came in. The former dude from Tennessee who's got a really weird name. I'm finding out, guys, on a complete other note, I'm really bad with names. I've heard people say that throughout my life, and I was like, what are you talking about? How are you bad with names? Well, at the time, I didn't have a big pool of people I had to keep up with. Doing this show on a weekly basis and trying to prepare for all this stuff makes me realize I'm really bad with names. Anyway, that is completely other side.
Got that done.
So anyway,
JR got a New Year's resolution.
Gotta get better names. Anyway, so I would very much like to see what a football mind could do at a GM position. So
hey, look, y'all. I just seen this in the chat. Now, Peter Vincent, now you need to cut it out. You talking about something? Get Chris Collinsworth.
Oh yeah, I see him over there.
Well, you said it.
He's over here, Steve Mariucci, Chris Collinsworth. I wasn't going to acknowledge, but since you acknowledge it, I'm going to, yeah.
So what we're going to do, we're going to have Joe Buck as director of talent scouting. We're going to have Chris Collinsworth.
That's right.
Hey, but look, he got a point now. Chris Collinsworth played the game.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Hey, look, isn't Chris Collinsworth, he's an analytics guy, right? Doesn't he own PFF?
Yeah, you do.
So at least you'd have an analytics guy for all you people out there. David M. says, Falcons fans have to face reality. There will be no quick fix. At least get the next QB on the roster now. That's one way to look at it. That's one way to look at it. Speed Falcon says, I want Jimmy to be the head coach, Mike for GM, and JR as the OC. We'll be winning Super Bowls every year. What? What? Well, hey, look.
Slow it down.
We'll at least have fun doing it.
Hey, go out there and punch somebody in the mouth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all seen our show. Hey, look, we put out better content than the Falcons.
Hey,
you know, anyway.
Come on with it.
Anyway.
Let's
Good one.
Tara Falcon says he won't Chris Collinsworth. He's always talking bad about us. So he didn't want Chris Collinsworth.
Oh, I thought you want to talk bad about it no more, I guess. Put him on the team.
Join.
Yeah, join. This chat is funny.
Yeah, they have a good. I'm enjoying it. William says Dirk Cutter is embarrassing this team this whole season. We see Sean McVay using his play call. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, I could spend a whole hour dumping on Dirk Cutter on the, and decisions made there. But if you really want to look at one reason why we're in the situation we're in is because of, poor drafting and poor decisions. We talk about, the Raiders having both our 2015 and 2017 first round picks on their staff or on their roster. That says a lot about us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot about us as far as, that's not good. Not to mention, Jalen Collins, who's no longer in the league. Isaiah Oliver, which looks shaky at best.
Oh, God.
And then who are some of like there's
keep going, JR. Keep going. Go quick, JR, because if we talk about him too long, we check on.
Oh yeah, no. I ain't gonna stay on Isaiah Oliver long. I don't want to get Reginald Oliver all messed up. Somebody was asking about pound for pound merch. There's a merch link in every description of everyone. We don't push it because I'm not that kind of person. I don't push link, but you see Jimmy's sporting one of the shirts right now.
I look good on y'all.
So y'all can go check out that link. All the merch type stuff you want, and we'd appreciate any of it, right?
Right.
But as they say on the newfangled thing with the TikTok, merch link in bio. So,
oh, JR, so you stepping up, JR.
Hey,
I like it.
We
baby.
try, man. Ghost Pepper.
Man. I want to get on this offensive line really quick, JR. Now, and this is pointed exactly directly at you, Dirk Cutter, the man himself. Go look in the mirror because you need to figure something out, playboy. And look here, after this, you probably won't get no other job. This is your last go round. Like somebody said in the chat, this is your last go round. Yep. But if you're gonna run a 7-step drop back, right? Make sure you got 7-step drop back blocking.
Oh yeah,
right?
Please, thank you.
So don't do a 7-step drop back when you put your left tackle and your right tackle on the island, right? We need a chip block. We need a tight end to come in and help block. We need a swing tackle to come in and help block one of the best defensive ends in the league. And please don't put a tight end on a defensive end solely blocking the defensive end by himself. If you're going to scheme up those type of plays, Dirk Cutter, please scheme up the blocking for it as well, because that is all rolled in one, smart guy. You keep showing your intelligence game after game. Vertical routes, and then you run it all cross routes, then you run it out routes when it's 3rd and 12. That's not even getting towards the first down marker. You are done, and you might be looking at being done in the NFL. Oh, I'm just saying. But if you're gonna call up a scheme, make sure you got the blocking scheme to go along with it there, player. You're making the quarterback hold the ball just a little bit too long. And if I were Matt Ryan with the plays that he designed and the route that he designed, I'm trying to hold the ball until somebody come open. But if you look at it after they replay, it ain't nobody coming open because they elongated plays or they running plays that run dead into coverage. So Dirk Cutter, please get out of Atlanta. Holler at me, y'all. Pound for pound ATL, what's going on? Go ahead, JR, before I get fired up.
But you're right. If you're gonna run these long drawn out plays, these long developing plays, especially when you're running against a team that has Cameron Jordan on it, that has Tyler Henderson on it, that has these guys who are eating right now.
Right.
And you're not doing anything to, help with that situation. And it's crazy to me.
Yeah, and I mean let me add one thing to that too though, because I noticed something too with the offensive line, all of that kind of stuff. There's a new guy on the Saints that ain't an old guy, but he back again for the second time that we really need to start looking out for. And that's that doggone Quan Alexander.
Oh yeah.
My God. He tried to Jamal Adams us a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
He was taking over the game a little bit. Like, so I'm telling you, over the next couple of weeks, months, y'all got to tune into us, because how this team is going to be crafted and constructed next year. And I apologies. Hey, playoff, don't worry about playoff. As we look ahead to 2021, as we look ahead to what the way this team is currently being crafted, we used to think about it. We got a big Beasley to stop a Cam Newton who's no longer in the NFC South.
Mm-hmm.
We got a Tack McKinley to put pressure on the Drew Brees, who it may be his last season.
Oh yeah.
Taysom Hill may be the future of the New Orleans Saints,
Maybe, yeah, right.
So we got so many questions going into this offseason. But again, that's why y'all got to tune in, tap into us, because it's going to be a lot to talk about. But yeah, I mean,
no doubt. It's like we got some people talking about wanting to bring in Josh McDaniels as a head coach, and I mean I'll give it to him. At least he would be innovative in a sense. Like, he tends to be pretty good at designing offenses.
right.
Quentin Williams says exactly, Jimmy. I think Matt Ryan and that turf is engaged to be married now with how much he was kissing it. Yeah, that was a 2 and 8 sack. And
long shirt cut around, get used to it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kenan Davis says, can we talk about them holding our receivers? Again, that's going to happen every game. So, it is what it is in that aspect.
Right. We just got beat.
Right.
We just got
exactly.
beat.
You gotta hold Julio Jones and the Captain Ridley.
Yeah,
that's the only way.
you're going to stop him.
And here's the thing, though. Holding aside, you're right. Holding happens every game. But it goes back to X's and O's, Jimmys and Joes. They were better than us.
That's
Matter
it.
of fact, they beat us. They beat us Sunday the same way we beat them last year. When, like you said, they were 7-1, we were 1-7. Period.
It is what it is. Let's see what else we got here. David M says the Falcons need to move away from the dome team building. Well, they ain't getting out of that building. Sorry, they spent a lot of money on that one.
That ain't going nowhere. So y'all built that stadium, man. What you talking about?
Yeah, it's not. William says it's not working for your team. Go ahead and hit the door. I think he's talking about Cutter there. All right, so there was a point that I wanted. I lost it. I done lost it. Let's see. Oh, okay, somebody says we lost because Matt Ryan holds the ball too long. Okay, that brings up the point that I want to talk about. I want to talk about. I don't know how I feel. Mike, you might have changed my mind a little bit, but I don't know how I feel about Raheem Morris calling the team out like he did. Making it sound like it was everybody's fault but theirs, like as in the coaching staffs. He's over here talking about the O-line gave up 3 sacks, the receivers wasn't getting open, Matt Ryan was at fault for 5 sacks. I mean, so I don't know. What do you think about that?
So I'm gonna do it in reverse. Jimbo, JR. Tell me what y'all think about it, and then I'll tell you what I think about it. Because this is one where I like everybody makes good points, but I want to hear y'all first, and then I'll make
well, first thing first, I go real quick, JR.
Yeah, go ahead.
He pointed fingers at the wrong people, because you got to put these players in position to win games and to make plays. And if you don't, the coach don't put them in position to make plays, don't point the finger at the players. At the same time, they got to try to execute the best way they can. But look at what kind of plays he's running against certain defense in the down and distance and the time. You got to look at all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You need to punch your finger at Dirk Cutter, man. Don't punch your finger at no players that have been on this team, my team, all these years, and let him slide. You ain't say nothing to him. Why don't you call him out? Are you the head coach or what, y'all best friend? Call him too.
That's it.
Come on, man. You gonna get one person, get everybody. Go, JR.
No, I agree completely. My big thing is like when coaches start calling out players to the media, I'm not a big fan of that. Now, you'll be like, oh, JR, were you talking out both sides of your mouth when you're telling me that you don't ever listen to coaches' speeches because they don't ever say anything. Yeah, no, I don't want my coach to say anything to the media. I need that stuff to stay in house, in a sense. Like as a fan, sure, I would like to know it, but if I look at it like this: if I'm the player and coach is talking crap to the media about me, that is like lowering my want to play for this coach.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the way I view
Yeah.
it, right? Is that when a coach starts talking ish on a player to a reporter, to me that's like, dude, come say that to my face. You know, be a man, say that to my face. That's my thought.
Right.
Okay.
Mike, what you got?
Okay. All right. Let me turn into a nerd. Let me turn into a nerd on y'all real quick, because these my guys at Pound Family. Y'all know it. And it ain't nobody else I'd rather ride with. But let me disagree with both of them, as we end this show out, right? Because I like, first and foremost, I got a couple points for you. One, they millionaires. Your coach should be able to call you out. Because let me tell you something. Our bosses will call us out, and we don't make nearly as much money. Let me tell you something. Like, if it was, why did something go wrong? Hey, that was wrong. That's called accountability. Let me tell you something. We struggle in the accountability department sometimes, because Raheem Morris said something that stuck out to me, because I'm a data guy. I trust the numbers. He said of those 8 sacks, 3 were on the offensive line. And when he meant 3, he meant Caleb McGarrett, because he gave up 3 sacks by himself to Cameron Jordan, right? But he said the other ones was just Matt Ryan holding the ball a little bit too long. And I'll be honest with you, not a better quarterback, not another quarterback I want on my team. But I do think that he was holding the ball a little bit too long against the Saints on some of those routes. Now, be it comfortability with Dirk Cutter's play calling, all of that kind of stuff, there are so many different factors, right? But I will say this though, there was one man. And let's talk about the throw. You remember the throw that Matt Ryan made where the ball just slipped out of his hand and he wasn't even throwing to nobody, right?
Right.
Some of that, again, it is on our quarterback. And at the end of the day, I'm big on accountability. And what will the quarterback tell you? It all starts with me. A good leader will say, put it on my shoulders.
Oh, no doubt.
At the end of the day, it's Dirk Cutter, it's everybody else, but it also is number 2, our commander-in-chief of the offense for the Atlanta Falcons. So, to be honest with you, it is a little bit refreshing. Because, to be honest with you, look at what Bruce Arians is saying about Tom Brady a little bit. He ain't rubbing Tom Brady's back.
This is true.
You're right, Mike.
So, my thing is this, though. Some of these guys need to be called out. Takk McKinley should have been called out years ago, to be honest with you. Let me tell you something. Not calling Takk McKinley out is why he felt comfortable enough to call them clowns. Let me tell you something. Raheem Morris, you called him a clown. By Thursday, we had the Takk McClowney show. We had the Takk McClowney thumbnail. You see what I'm saying? And 3 or 4 days after that, he got it. So to that point, like I said, I kind of like a look, call these guys out.
I agree with it, but call everybody.
Oh yeah.
But to your
everybody.
But to bring it full circle, I agree with the guys. Call everybody.
That's right.
You can't just harp on some people, because, like you said, this is war, and when it's war, you go to war with all of your soldiers. It ain't just the lieutenant colonel over there, the first sergeant over here. It's the whole brigade, baby.
Yeah, get everybody.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We're a little over an hour. I'm gonna grab a few more. No, you before the show, you had already changed my mind a little bit on my opinion. As far as coaches calling people out like that. So anyway, we're gonna grab a few more comments here, and then we're gonna run it out. Tara Falcon says, "We're not making the playoffs. The only thing we can get excited for is the draft." Yep, we're gonna start looking towards that. That's for sure. Cleo McCowan says, "I really think we need to bring the fan base back. Draft a Trevor Lawrence or Fields and bring back the fan base. Let the new coach and GM build around them. Matt and Julio Jones been around too long now." I don't know about the too long part, but I understand the thinking. I get it. I understand it. Speed Falcon says, "As long as we beat the Saints 4-12, I'm good." So he at least wants to get one. Ghost Pepper thinks the tape that Cutter was watching was Girls Gone Wild Mardi Gras edition, and not the Saints. He was watching the wrong New Orleans tape. That's what they say. He's going to put in the wrong New Orleans tape. And on that note, I think Ghost Pepper wins the comments of the night.
Oh, I like that.
And we are going to wrap this up. For the folks that do want merch, like I said, there is a merch link in the bio, or in the description rather. You can get your pound for pound search there. And we appreciate y'all being with us, even in being embarrassed in the way we did. At least we were able to laugh. So thank y'all very much for the ones who have tipped us. Thank y'all even more so.
Yes, sir.
You can follow me on Twitter. I am at Grim1128, GRIMM1128. Jimmy.
You can catch me on Twitter at Jimmy Obama, JIMMYOBAMA, baby. I'll hit y'all up, Mike.
Hey, man, you can catch me at Mike MIKE _DUB. Let's hope this week we don't get beat by another creative player, because Taysom Hill is a creative player on Madden that beat us and beat our team, and hopefully we didn't get up. But yeah, good show.
Yeah,
fellas.
no doubt,
Loved
no
it.
doubt. All right, folks. As always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up, baby. Coach Pepper.